conversation is going round. People talking about the colors come to town. Fresh as a summer breeze, she'll take you by surprise.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Freshwaves here at Whistle FM. We have a fabulous show lined up for this, our first live show of the new year. We had a recorded show last week, but Happy New Year to everyone who I haven't spoken to and seen in the last little while. I hope 2019 is a wonderful year for you. And we have to give a big shout out to Reese's Market and Bakery, who once again have given us wonderful muffins for the station this morning. They're at 5758 Main Street right here in Stouffville. Jason, good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Brent. Happy New Year. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since last year.
I haven't seen you since last year either. That's so funny. Anyway, we have joining us for the first hour today, Sylvia Mason. And in the second hour, we have Dr. Megan Lynch, who's going to tell us how to walk in the snow without falling and killing ourselves and how to shovel snow properly so we don't put our backs out. You know, chiropractors like to make their money, but they certainly don't like to see you in pain. So it's going to be a very interesting show today, and it is snowing lightly outside of our studios as we speak. So this is a live show. If you'd like to get a hold of us, how do you get a hold of us during the show, Jay?
Yeah, you can give us a call here at the station, 905-640-1027. We're also on Facebook. Go to our page, Freshwaves on Whistle FM. Give us a like there. We're also on Twitter at Freshwaves Radio.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So, with no further ado, good morning, Sylvia Mason.
Good morning, Brenda. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Lots of energy this morning, and we're just plowing along here at the studio. So, you are I'm going to say you are the Freshwaves astrologer.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Yes.
I'm sure there are millions out there that would disagree in terms of how astrology really works in terms of interpretation. So I call myself an astrology student.
Yes,
I'm always learning.
Well, you're our resident student.
That's right. There you go. But happy to share a little bit of what I know, and of course what I've gleaned from many astrologers across the interwebs, because there are some smart cookies out there.
Oh, there certainly are, and I think it's always fun to have you on at the beginning of the year to get an idea of, you know, just the general terms of what to expect in the year to come, because I mean, you read the newspaper, sometimes people read their horoscopes in the newspaper, or they read it in a magazine. It's very broad, but specific to their star sign, and they look only to their star sign, when, in fact, you have told us many times in the past that we're all kind of interconnected, that everything that affects one sign does in some way, shape, or form affect all of us somewhere along the line. So it's like that mobile. Once you move one of the pieces, all of the pieces move. We don't operate as autonomous units, do we?
Not at all. And, you know, most spiritual beings would say we are all connected, we are one. I mean, that's sort of the basis of our universe, right? So yeah, that does fall into play there as well.
Okay, so what are we looking at for 2019? I'm sure everybody's curious.
Okay, we'll jump right into it. Can I preface it just a little bit?
Sure.
A little bit about 2018, just to show you the difference.
Perfect.
So in 2018, we had Venus and Mars retrograde for Mars a very long time, and Venus for a number of times, and that threw all of us off just a little bit. So 2018 had its share of stops and starts, beginnings and endings that were very noticeable. This year we don't have that happening, which is great, because if we have a plan, we can actually steer pretty much directly through it. And that's what's exciting for me when I said to you the other day, this is a much better year, because we're also culminating the 7 years of the planet Uranus, which we'll get into in a minute, and also the whole Mayan calendar. You know how they talked about it ending at 2012, and, you know, it was the end of the world and everything else. Obviously that didn't happen, but what did happen was the beginning of a new cycle. Well, that cycle has now ended in 2019, 7 years later, which will give us all a bit of relief, yes.
Huh.
So I'm happy about that because we got through sort of stage one after, into a new sort of dimension, revelation. I could use a number of words, but basically a new era, I would call it. And again, in 2019, we're starting fresh with that tricky planet Uranus going into Taurus in March. So I will share more about that, but I just want to tell you an overview of 2019.
Okay.
And the words that I'm hearing and the feeling that I'm getting from everything I've read and also know about is that 2019 is asking all of us to let go more than we bring in. So there's words of let go of more than we amass. So it's a purging, it's a release, it's a purifying, it's a let go of the bad habits, let go of the bad thinking, the negative stuff. Just let it all go because we're coming up to a fresh start and we want to let that purge and be ready for the new things that are coming towards us or that we create. So because of this, or as a result of the eclipses, that's why we're having this purge. We're having a number of eclipses in Capricorn this year. So Capricorn people and people with a strong Capricorn in their chart will definitely feel this desire to purge and release. And what that also sometimes means is that we have to go to the depths of ourselves to find, the stuff that we don't always want to look at, we don't always want to deal with. That stuff's going to probably come up for Capricorns and Cancerians especially, so that we can bring it to the surface and purge. And there's more around that as we look at the other planets also in Capricorn this year. So I tend to sort of bounce all over the place because there's so many things going on at once, so I'll try to slow it down.
Okay, but if you, somebody like me, who I've been told by many people that if they didn't really know me, they would assume that I was Capricorn. I have tons of people who are Capricorns in my life. So, oddly enough, one of my New Year's resolutions is to purge. I just have this, I have this desire now. I've had this nesting instinct for so many years because I've got 4 kids. Now they're all out of the house, but it's taken me 2 years of them being out of the house before I now have this, I can't even explain how strong this urge is to just start tossing junk right, left, and center. I mean, not throw it out, but at least repurpose it and give it away and let it have a new life in someone else's house.
Life, yeah. Yeah, and actually that's the theme for many, many people this year, Brenda, so that's interesting. And again, if you have a Capricorn focus in your chart, you're going to feel it. There's no question. It's interesting. These eclipses, there are 4 of them that are in Capricorn this year. And so it's not just 1 hit or 2 hits. It's 4 hits to say, hey,
wow.
If you didn't get it done the first time, we're going to bug you again the second time. So it's a very Capricorn year. And Capricorn itself means the traits associated with Capricorn is very ambitious, very strong, very persistent. It's represented by the goat, and the goat climbs that mountain no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So Capricorns I adore in the fact that they see their goal and they go for it, and nothing really ever stops them. They might have some setbacks, but nothing ever stops their goal, and they are usually very successful people. So that's the good stuff, is in terms of moving towards and seeing your goals and highlighting the direction that you want to go into. The not so good stuff is also quite strong this year, and that's because Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node are also in Capricorn. And these are Saturn and Pluto are the 2 strongest planets in our system. Saturn is the planet of limitations, boundaries, structure. So those are going to be purged to create new ones. Pluto, right beside it, is the planet of, they call it regeneration, meaning you go to the depths, the bowels, the deepest parts of you, you bring it up, you let it go, and life begins anew. The phoenix rising I always associate it to. So that's where the heaviness of this year does come in, because there's a lot of focus in the Capricorn area of life. And wherever that lands in your specific chart will be the focus of this year for you. So unfortunately, we can't do everybody's chart, on the
individually,
radio.
No.
Individually, right. But that is something to consider if someone's really interested in knowing where that focus Capricorn is in their chart, to have it looked up, to have it, to take a look at and see where it is, because that will give you much insight into what's happening in this year for them. So, talking about the eclipses in Capricorn, they are also occurring again with Saturn and Pluto beside them. So I just want to keep, that's the heavy part. But again, eclipses release, eclipses bring to light. So does that make sense? Can you see that there's this heaviness, this depth, but at the same time a release to begin again?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I did see the eclipse, was it last summer or the summer before, where there was a total solar eclipse. Remember that? And
oh, yes, I do. We were standing outside. That's right.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to note the darkness that came over, and it was briefly, for a moment or two, frightening. And then when the light came back, it was exhilarating. It was wonderful. It was a moment of sheer awe in how dark it can get, how light it can get. And I don't know, I think every time we talk about these horoscopes and we hear that there are these dark sides to things, there is a positive side to be brought out of every darkness.
Brenda, you're a writer. That's beautifully spoken. I think that's exactly what we're trying to convey. You know, with the dark comes the light, and we have to be brave and courageous to face that dark. Otherwise, it doesn't serve us. It just holds us back. Mm-hmm. So in many signs this year, the universe is saying you're going to have to go to the depths of yourself, figure yourself out, what you like, what you don't like, and release what you don't like to focus on what you do, and therefore there's the light.
Right.
And then, of course, being in Capricorn, you know, that steadfast area of your sign, of your chart, will get to the goal because they don't give up. Right? That's just who they are. And that's the essence of that energy, I should say, because we're not all Capricorns, but we'll all feel that essence. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about these eclipses. They say that this year's eclipses will teach us about our personal integrity, maturity, and self-mastery. So again, we're going back to that. We have to figure out what we're all about and what we're really good at so that we can focus on that and keep it moving. The South Node, which is a little complicated for our conversation, but just know that the South Node during these eclipses encourages us to release what is in the way of our spiritual growth as well. So again, a lot of, bringing up, purging, releasing. Huh. I'll tell you when the eclipses happen if anybody's interested.
I am.
Sorry?
I am. I'm interested.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if I was interrupting you. Capricorn, there was an eclipse in Capricorn just this past weekend. It was a new moon and partial solar eclipse. So people may have already started to feel something this past weekend, but know that eclipses last 6 months. The effect of them lasts that long. So It might be the day of, it might be February 5th, and it's a kickstart to the rest of the eclipses throughout the year. But I thought it was going to be a magnificent eclipse in terms of everybody would feel something, and it wasn't the case necessarily. It was more of a, when I think of a race, on your mark, get set, go, it was on your mark. That's how it ended up being. So then, of course, the next one that occurs in July will be a full moon and partial lunar eclipse. So that will, again, on your mark, get set will be the next one, and then go will be the final one on December 25th of this year. So Christmas babies will have an eclipse, a new moon eclipse on their birthday this year.
Wow, that's kind of spooky, isn't it? A December eclipse. It is. This year we had a December new moon, didn't we? We had a full moon on Christmas Day, which is unusual, and then next year an eclipse. Wow.
An eclipse and a new moon. Wow. And those are always indicators of fresh starts, new beginnings. People who have birthdays that land on the eclipse days are actually doubly blessed that year. It's quite a surge of energy for them. Now, along with Capricorn's eclipses this year, we have a couple that are not in Capricorn, which kind of has to, shake things up a bit. We can't be all Capricorn, and we need a little bit of different energies to help us along. So the first one, and that's coming up this January 20th, that you may have already heard about it, is a supermoon this year, meaning astronomically it is the closest to the Earth it will be this year. You know how sometimes moons are bigger than others?
Yes.
Or our perception feels like it is because it actually orbits closer to the Earth. So this January 20th, we're going to see a huge supermoon. It's a full moon, and it's also a total lunar eclipse. So this eclipse, yeah, it's going to be beautiful. And it's also called a blood moon as well. So you'll see that tinge of red to it.
And that's January 20th?
Yeah, January 20th. I don't have the exact time with me, but it's easy to look up.
Yeah. Wow.
And this is the last eclipse of Leo. Leos have been going through eclipses since February 2017, and now they end on January 2019. And basically, Leos, as we were talking about Capricorns earlier, getting the essence or the bulk of energy, Leos have had that for the last couple of years, and anybody with a Leo's strong in their chart. And so they're sort of ending whatever they were learning, engaging in, whatever. That will definitely be felt by the Leos so that they know, okay, this has ended, now I have a new beginning. And then one more happens on July 2nd, and that is in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer is sensitive and moody and deep, and interestingly enough, it opposes Capricorn, which is that strong, vigil kind of sign. Cancer is the water and the sensitivity. So Capricorn builds the structures, and then Cancer fills it with water, with creation, with love.
Huh.
So we need that. We need that balance. Otherwise, we would all be stodgy Capricorn type people. I shouldn't say it that way, but that's the image you get sometimes with all of this Capricorn energy. So Cancer, July 2nd. It is a non-Capricorn eclipse, obviously, and it'll just mellow things out. It'll soften things a little bit for us. And I think we'll all feel that, because we will have felt the Capricorn energy for so long. The Cancer energy in July will soften us up and give us a bit of a break from structure and purging and all that we've spoken about already.
Isn't that funny? Because July is usually the month where people go to their cottages, they kick in their summer vacations, so it's a natural month of relaxing anyway.
Correct, and we'll need it by then.
I need it every year, just saying.
That's right. Now, the larger planets, no, I shouldn't say larger, but the outer planets that affect us all, they're called the heavyweights, Saturn and Pluto. And as I said earlier, they are in Capricorn, so they're adding energy and depth to whatever passes through.
Mm-hmm.
This is where that heaviness comes in. And that's where I'm not trying to focus too much on it, but again, we need to be aware that we're going to the depths, whether it's economically, financially, meaning worldwide, internally, individually, we're all affected. So it will be really interesting to see what happens at the end of this year in terms of how we went deep, purged, and let go. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, that's all the kind of sort of the heavy stuff. The fun stuff is that Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system that we know of, and it is the planet of expansion and benevolence and travel and enjoyment. And that's in Sagittarius this year. So Sagittarius, this is your year, because Jupiter will align with the sun and give you a lot of energy and a lot of courage and a lot of confidence. Jupiter is in one sign for a whole year every year. So it just left Scorpio. Now it's in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the learner, the traveler, and it's a very different feeling from the Capricorn world or the Capricorn happenings we talked about. Jupiter likes to expand the world, open our options, magnify everything, show you sometimes to excess. Sagittarians need to know that with Jupiter in their hut, and whatever house it is in their sign, they may gain some weight. They may go to excess because they're having such a great time. They might forget, I need to sort of curtail this in a little bit. But for one year out of 12, which is how this planet circulates our system, it's their fun year. It's their year of expansion and developing whatever. And that could be financially, in love, relationships, work. It could be in any part of your life, but it's definitely your good luck charm. So I'm happy for the Sages. Shall I carry on then?
Well, we're actually going to, why don't we take a little commercial break now, and then we'll
Sure.
come back and we'll continue with this conversation, because it is fascinating, and I think everybody's ears have perked up because they've seen some really positive things coming out in this year. It's looking really cool.
Okay.
All right, we'll take a little break. You're listening to Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM, and we'll be back right after this short break.